and today we're doing an educational stream. This is part of the Digital Painting 1 class that I'm teaching this semester at Utah Valley University. And let me turn down Pretzel here real quick because for whatever reason I can't hear myself think. And if it's that loud, it's too much of a distraction. Oh, come on. I can only get 1% or 5%. There we go. 1% seems to be better. All right. Okay, apologize for that. Anyway, okay. So, we're going to talk about the preliminary process, specifically for illustration. A lot of my students coming in, one of the things that's hard about being a professional is that you learn things over the course of your years working. And then when you turn around and you come to teach your students, you have this thing called the professional blind side. And that's the assumption that your students know everything that you do. And it's actually the exact opposite. Your students don't know anything about what you're thinking, and you need to make sure that you explain your process to them. So one of the things that I found is that a lot of my students will just jump into an assignment, and they won't do any preliminary work whatsoever. They'll literally just start drawing their finished work, and they'll keep going until they feel it's done. Huge mistake. Okay, you're never going to get an assignment from an editor or an art director where you're not asked to do some type of preliminary work, and where they're not basically giving you feedback and approval on everything that you're doing. So you want to start with small drawings and then work your way up. And those small drawings are typically known as thumbnails. And they get that name because basically they're drawings the size of your thumb. They're just quick sketches to get the creative juices flowing. So our assignment that we're working on is the treehouse assignment given to us by Adam and Noah. And I don't have any treehouse assignments to show you. I've never done this myself, but I figured I'd take the assignment and do it with you so that students can get an idea of how I work, and hopefully that inspires them. So anyway, the closest thing I have to a treehouse is this tree monkey, and I basically just brought it in to be a cool little image at the beginning of our our reel, so it doesn't look like I have a blank canvas for my preview video. Anyway, but that's not what we're going to be drawing. We're going to be drawing a treehouse. So I lied to everybody. I'm sorry. Brought you in under false pretenses that we're going to be doing awesome tree monkeys, and instead we're doing tree houses. Slightly more boring, in my opinion, but nonetheless useful. Maybe, I don't know, maybe you can make the treehouse in the monkey, you know, I don't know. Anyway, we'll play it safe. We'll do something completely original. Anyway, I'm gonna go into Procreate, and I'm going to oops, this is not Procreate. This is an image. Let's get Procreate up and running, and let's pop in. I'm going to use my new Comic Blade 2K. What's different with this file as opposed to my other files? I basically set up this file to record the playback in 2K resolution. You want to do that when you make your files if you're ever going to do any type of playback. It comes in useful later on down the line. If you have your settings set too high, even with a new M1 chip on this iPad Pro, it'll chug. So I have like nice medium settings that aren't completely garbage low resolution, but at the same time, they're not going to be in an 8K video, okay? Anyway, all right, so like I said, the assignment's treehouse. And one of the things I like to do with my paper is I like to tone my paper. And since we're going for something that is a little bit more nature-esque, I'm going to go ahead and just tone my paper with a muted green. I'm just going to drop that in. I'm going to use that sort of as my default background. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to create a new layer, a floating layer on top of that, and I'm going to go into my brushes, and I'm going to select my standard sketching brush, which is just Chad's Holding Lines Normal. And in Procreate, it's not as easy to switch in between your blending modes on your brushes. So I usually take the same brush and I save it in 3 iterations. I have the color dodge for when I do highlights, normal for when I'm just sketching, and then multiply right here for when I do shadows. And I have no idea why I duplicated this right here. It's probably the same brush and I just was doing a demo. Anyway, so I'm just going to grab my normal brush. Maybe, you know what? Actually, I'm going to grab my multiply. Why not? And I'm going to come in here to my palette, and I'm just going to select a... I should just work in black, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to select a brown. And then I'm going to come in here to my classic, and I'm just going to turn that just a little bit more dark. Now, you don't have to do this. You can work in black and white. It doesn't matter. I'm just showing you some options that you have. Feel free to, if you have your own system, work your own system. Okay. I'm just going to do a few quick layouts. I'm going to be working 11 by 17 because 11 by 17 is the size of my prints. And if I ever get a piece of artwork that I like, I'm going to want to turn it into a print and sell it at shows and sell it online and things like that. Okay, so I'm just blocking out the rough outline of my paper. Now notice how small that you can't see my thumb, but if I put this on my iPad right now, it's basically the size of my thumb. You're going to be working small and then going big. All right, and the purpose of that is that you know you're problem solving from the start. If you do a thumbnail and that thumbnail stinks, you've only spent a couple of minutes on that thumbnail. You haven't spent days on it. Okay, so you want to work small from the start. So thumbnails equal small. Now, before I get too further along, I'm just going to pull up. I'm just going to show you guys. I did some reference here. Oop, wrong one. Hold on. Here's my cool trees. So I just grabbed a little bit of reference. I literally just Googled cool trees. I think I have another one for the banyan tree in Maui. This tree's pretty dope. Anyway, just want to have some ideas. You don't want to have a boring tree. You want to have like a cool, exciting tree. So, but anyway, it's good to have some reference. I really like this tree. This tree's pretty fun. So I'm gonna play with this tree right here and just use that. Keep that in my mind. Basically, it's shaped like a giant mushroom. And let's see what tree vampire. No. Okay. Mark is asking a very educational based question. Why the Death Watch theme if I'm doing an educational video? Because it's still going on my YouTube channel and I'm still promoting Death Watch. Thanks, Mark, for calling me out in the middle of my stream. Keeping me sharp as always, buddy. Good to have you aboard. All right, let's get back to our demo. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and do a landscape with this. Another one of our parameters for the assignment. I'm going to write a few of these. Okay, so the minimum is 8.5 by 11 as far as the size. Okay, that's the minimum size. You always want to find out the parameters of your assignment first. And then the maximum size, no larger, I think it was 12 by 18. And these are inches, okay? 12 by 18 inches. And I think, 300 DPI, that's always the lowest resolution for print. I work as big as I can. I think this is basically 400 DPI in here, but you want to work as big as you can. DPI stands for dots per inch. It's your pixel resolution. The higher the better, but also the higher the more it's going to chug, the more demand it's going to put on your hardware. Okay, so that's the minimum size. Here's the max size. Other parameters, we have to have a building. All right. We have to show perspective, and the building is going to be the treehouse, duh, right? We have to show perspective. This is going to be the hardest for a lot of students. And that includes, so you got to figure out, am I doing 1-point perspective, 2-point perspective, 3-point perspective, atmospheric perspective? What type of perspective am I using? Chances are you should be using atmospheric perspective all the time. But you should figure out beforehand what perspective you're going to use in case you need to set up your grids. I'm going to be probably using 3-point perspective. Okay. And then you also have to have a clear, defined foreground, midground. Oop, can't spell. That's why I'm an artist. Ah, now I've really messed it up. Hold on. Mid ground. All right, and then background. Commas. Okay, so you want to be thinking about these things. Okay, so I was looking at those trees. We can go ahead and start with the trees. They basically look like giant mushrooms. Okay, and we can add a little bit of artistic liberty to the scene. We don't have to be a slave to our reference. Um, okay, so there's one tree. Now I'm going to try and create like a interesting composition. So I'm just going to put a few other trees. I need to establish a horizon line. I'm going to put my horizon line right there, just using the rule of thirds. And then let's just have a few more. I'm eyeballing everything. I really haven't even thought about my grid or anything. Okay. I'm going to basically, I envision this from the reference. It's already in my mind, and this is one of the problems with references. It sort of contaminates your thought process. But anyway, the reference was on the plains of Africa, so we can use the plains of Africa as our background, or we might be able, we might want to bring in something like Mount. What was that mountain in the Africa song? Mount Kilimanjaro. Is that how you say it? Let's just go here real quick. Let's bring up. I'm gonna scooch this over the side. And let's see if we can find any. I'm gonna create a new tab, and we'll just do mountains in Africa. All right. Let's see what pulls up. Oh, here we got some cool ones. Look at that. Nice. And that's Kilimanjaro. Okay, that's a really cool looking mountain. So let's pull that up for 1 sec. And we'll do images. We'll go tools, size, large. Look at that. Awesome. Awesome. I love it. Look at that. That's a great shot. Okay. Now we're not supposed to have any animals in this assignment. We're supposed to focus on the environment. But one of the things I really like is that we can come in, we can basically, gives us an idea. We'll throw in that sort of that misty haze. And then we'll work Kilimanjaro in there right back here. All right. All right, there we go. And that's so tall that basically, even though this is our horizon line, it's shooting up above that, way in the distance. Okay. And then I like interesting cloud shapes, so I'm just going to bring in a few clouds here, just to get that negative space. Okay, so I have a midground and I have a background, but I don't have a foreground. Okay. So one of the things I want to think about also is, what am I going to do for that foreground? Well, we're in the plains of Africa. So what if we just do some really tall grass to just sort of frame. We're just using this to frame. Watch out for tangents. Okay, we don't want things to touch. We don't want things to just touch on the edges. If you're gonna add an element and you're gonna cover something up, overlap it. Okay. All right. I'm just gonna knock this tree, the base of this tree, back just a little bit. Okay. And I'm gonna get rid of that dot. Okay. So this is my foreground. I got the grass. Maybe, since I'm going to add just just an element. I'm going to add like maybe sort of a scary little skull. We're not allowed to have animals, but didn't say anything about not having bones. But maybe that's why these people, whoever they are living in this treehouse, because it's just too dangerous to live on the plains of Africa. Okay, so I'm thinking about my story when I'm adding these elements. Okay, all right. So I got these elements. I'm just going to darken some of this. I'm going to think about shadows. I can switch brushes. In your first assignment, you're required to use the same brush. That's not the case with this assignment. You can use different brushes, and I just want to start building my values up just to make things pop. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make my foreground darker. I'm going to get this really dark right here. Oh, hold on. Let's go back to my brush. Color dodge. We don't want that. Let's do multiply. I was wondering why that was heating up. There we go. Size that down. Then I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to knock all that foreground back. Just go over everything. Now remember, this doesn't have to be super tight as far as the rendering goes or the drawing goes, but you definitely want it to read. So I'm just slowly building my values. Once I have some values built up, I'm going to show you guys a way to just sort of speed that up if you want. Okay, so there's my trees. I have a foreground, middle ground, background. I don't have my house though, so let's switch back. One of the new features in the new Procreate is you have the recent brush palette, which comes in pretty handy. Now, I sort of imagine like a clever pulley system. Maybe the spiral staircase just sort of get you to this first level. I'm making all of this up as I go, okay? It probably wouldn't hurt to look at some oof. Maybe blend that in. Let's real quick. Let's Google some reference. Since we're in Mount Kilimanjaro, let's Google some building reference. Since we've sort of picked a region, and let's see. We'll just go to Mount Kilimanjaro and we'll do villages. see if anything pops up. Okay, cool. Look at this. Yeah. This looks like a lot of fun. So I like that. We can see we sort of have these thatched roofs that fit nice. Now I'm just faking all my perspective right now, but at one point I probably should come in and make sure that my perspective's correct. Now I don't want to go too tall here. I'm gonna smudge this to make corrections. I'm just gonna smudge that over. Then maybe there's like a rope bridge that goes up into the trees, and then there's other villages on these other trees too. And maybe this one's bigger. Maybe this is like the mega tree. You know, I sort of like having that repeating motif of the round roof. So even though that's not accurate, let's just say that this accurate to our reference. Let's just say that this this particular group. I mean, because after all, this is in our imagination. Maybe they have round roofs on top of their tree houses. Okay, so I told you I'd show you a few tricks when it comes to value. So I had this on a floating layer. Let's go ahead and let's select this. We'll go ahead and just use the rectangle. So rather than going in and like rendering things over and over again and just making it darker, we can come in here and we can duplicate. Okay, that's getting a little too dark. Let's just take this one. We'll go. Whoop. We'll just turn that down, and then I like that. We can just smush it down. Boom. And there's one thumbnail pretty much done. Now I'm going to come in here. I'm going to go back to my imported. I'm going to grab color dodge, and I'm going to just let's just grab this yellow light. And I'm going to come in here and just add a few highlights. Just on some of the bones. Now this is, let me just check and see if I have any brushes. Look, we already have a leaf brush in here. I'm going to come in here. You know what? I need to make sure. Let's go in here and let's go to rendering. And I'm going to change the blend mode to color burn. No, wait, hold on. Color dodge, sorry. Now, ideally, you should probably duplicate this before you do that. And I'm going to go back here real quick and just, let's see, is there a reset? All right, there's not. I'm just going to set it to normal, though. There we go. All right, so that's my normal one. Let's come back into this one real quick, and we'll just... go to about this brush and we'll rename it. Maybe Snow Gum, and we'll just call it color burn or color dodge. Yeah, color dodge. Okay. And so now we have we have the original brush, and then we have one that basically acts as a dodge. Woo, that's really big, really big. And I'm doing that just to get a little bit of a different texture. Now I'm coming in here and I'm painting over my foreground. That's okay. Don't worry about that yet. Because I can just come in here with the eraser. Whoop, too big. My eraser's too big. Am I doing this all in the same layer? No. Oh yeah, I am. Should have done an additional layer on that. Okay, but it's okay. It's a thumbnail. All right. Let's go back real quick. And we'll just do a color dodge. We'll add a few highlights to the grass. Okay. And there we go. I mean, one thumbnail down. I think that's sort of a fun little composition. A little lopsided up here, but I could just add, more villages if I want to. Didn't really get into the perspective part because it's so small. The treehouse is, that is. But that's okay. Let's see. Mecha Jared is asking a question. It says, "Would you like?" No, we're good. Well, you can call me anytime, but yeah, after the stream would be better than during the stream for obvious reasons. And then this is nice. Is it for a fantasy story? It's actually for an assignment. Daggone it, I didn't realize that I didn't pull that up. Ugh. I drew that whole thing without pulling that up, and now I am super mad at myself. I tell you what, guys. I need. This is why I need Ray and Perry here to remind me. All right. Well, let's just do another one real quick. I will hopefully not forget to have my screen up while doing the demonstration. Let's talking about perspective. Let's do one that has a little bit more perspective. So let's pick a different tree. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna go back to my color palettes. I'm gonna grab my old color. You can switch between colors just by clicking, holding down. And then I'm gonna go back to my multiply brush. And we'll do another one with another perspective. Let's do one in the redwood forest. You know what? That might not show. That might not focus on the house. I'm gonna do one where I focus on the actual treehouse first, and we'll talk about perspective. So this one was more about the tree, less about the house. For this thumbnail, I'm going to do one that's more about the house and less about the tree. But once again, I'm not trying to tell you what to do with these. I'm just trying to explain the benefits of doing some preliminary work before you get started on your assignments, and just the benefits of doing, having a workflow. So here's my tree. Now let's talk about perspective. With this one, I'm just sort of sketching in these lines. But one of the cool things about Procreate is it has perspective tools in it. I'm getting text from faculty members in the middle of my live stream. They're just going to have to wait a little bit. So let's go in here. I'm going to show you how to do the drawing guide. And let's go edit drawing guide. And we can come over here and we can click on perspective and we can start adding. Okay, for a second there, it didn't look like that was going to work. For whatever reasons, it doesn't like my finger all the time. Okay, so let's get that right about there, and then so I'm establishing my vanishing points after I came in and I basically laid down. Oh, Natalie's on, says, lurking with volume mostly down because I'm working, but wanted to send you loves and super art vibes. Thank you so much, Natalie. appreciate you as always. And then, yeah, Jared and Natalie, we all know each other from St. George days and beyond. Actually, Laverkin or Hurricane, Utah, depending on which side of the river we were on, right? Anyway, good times. Always appreciative. Make sure that you guys, if you're into games and Dungeons and Dragons and art, make sure you give Natalie a follow and a like on her Twitch channel. You can find that on my Twitch channel, Twitch TV/Chad Harden. Just go there, and she's in my friend network. Just follow along. Okay, so look, I added my second vanishing point. And all I'm doing is I'm just dropping these vanishing points in. And look at how close those vanishing points get to just my preliminary sketch. So I started with that sketch, and now I've come in, and I've basically mapped out where those perspective lines are going to go. Now, what the biggest rule about having 3-point perspective is that all your perspective lines, or all your vanishing points, need to be outside of your composition. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to shoot that one way up there. Doesn't look like that's far enough up. I'm just going to take, let's do the thickness. And, we don't, okay. Let's, looks like it should be a little bit closer. Okay, that's better. Should be a little bit closer still. Maybe even still. Okay, that's looking a little bit better. There we go. Look at that. Right about there. Okay. So, we got our perspective. Now, this isn't, I mean, obviously this is an architectural drawing. Okay, so we're not going to go that crazy with our perspective. We're just trying to get some lines in. Okay. Now, if you're working in Photoshop, they don't have these features in Photoshop that I'm aware of. I'll make sure and I'll Google it just to double check. I'll show you a workaround that you can use though. Anyway, so let's get, we're going to hit done. Oh, hit done. Make sure you hit done and don't accidentally change. And then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to get on this layer. I'm going to do drawing assist, and what that's going to do is that's going to constrain the proportion of my drawing to my perspective grid. And I'm just going to go and I'm going to make sure that, oh, look at how, I'm glad I did that, because look at how off my line was. I'm just going to undo. Look at how off the line was for my roof. Okay, so it looks like I did pretty good getting the base of my house, my tree house established, but my roof is off by a wide margin. I imagine the top is going to be off as well. So I'm glad I did that. Now we can divide. You know what? Actually, let me add just a few more lines here. Okay. So I'm just adding those lines to make sure that things are a little bit more correct. Now, if I'm going to add a door, and that door is going to be in the center of my house, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to find the center by bisecting. And then I'm just going to add that door in. Haven't really chosen a style, but for whatever reason, I imagine this to be almost like a witch's house. Almost like a Hansel and Gretel up in the trees. So I'm just adding those details now. Maybe like a loft window up here. And I'm going to use that line as my center point. Okay, look at how, that's another thing that's really important. Let's take this line and let's go up. And right there is where the middle of my roof should be, but it's not. It's over here. So let's go ahead and let's redraw that real quick and make sure that those lines are a little bit better. Oop, didn't really plan for the thickness there. Okay, there we go. There we go. That's looking a lot better. Okay, a little bit of shadow for underneath. Now, you might be wondering how I got those lines to draw diagonally, even though I'm in drawing assist. So you can draw the line, you can wait for the snap, and then you can move that line to any way you want. So I'm just doing that to get things established, and once I get things established, I'll go ahead and I'll turn it off. I have no idea how they're going to get into this house, so I need to... Oops. Yeah, that's... maybe like a little balcony or something. Maybe I should have had the door on this side. Anyway, we're just thumbnailing. We can always try a second attempt. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say there has to be a chimney in this tree house. Now that I basically have this, my house established, I'm going to go ahead and I am going to turn off my drawing assist. And that's going to allow me to draw free now, no longer constrained by my perspective. Now, if I ever want to turn it back on, I just come in here and do drawing assist, and the constraints are put back up, and I'm drawing in perspective again. So if you're not, let's see, the Baba Yaga, Howl's Moving Castle, yeah, all of these would be good ideas for that. So anyway, yeah. So I got my house. I'm going to go in here, turn the drawing assist off. And now since I've decided that this is a witch's house, I'm going to make almost like a spooky tree. Jared brought up the Baba Yaga. Now the Baba Yaga had like chicken feet. You know what, Jared? I'm going to steal the Baba Yaga. I'm going to steal it. So I'm drawing this sort of gnarly tree, but I'm going to turn it into like a hand. Like a creepy, old, gnarly hand. It's just holding up this witch's house. Now remember, I'm drawing the midground. I got to think about my foreground. Trying to make this as spooky as I can make it. So I'm just getting sharp shapes in there. And I'll do let me come in here and just erase. I'll do the values, but I'm going to do those later. I'm going to make sure that I like my lines first. I always start with lines. We're doing comics for the last 15 years. Has turned me into a line person, and I don't think I'm ever going to go back. So I think the lines that you see in my drawings, they're here to stay. Now I'm just going to come in and I'm going to take some artistic liberties. I'm making this tree look like a hand. So I'm just going to make almost like these knotted, these really giant knots. And get this just as sinister looking as I possibly can. Maybe there's a swamp down below. Maybe there's like a little tiny pump or something that allows for that water to get up into that treehouse. Really quick, I'm going to turn that drawing assist back on, and I'm going to make sure that those lines are in perspective. Look at that. Okay, close. And then we also have to figure out how do people get in. So what if we do a little contraption? Just have like little tiny platforms that are almost like stairs. Okay, now that's still all my mid ground. Let's see if we can do some that have some foreground in it. Trying to think of something a little bit more scary. And I don't want to cover too much of this stuff up, but you can't be married to everything. Make sure I turn my drawing assist off. I'm going to come in here and just do some really funky looking roots. And then on this side, what can I have on this side? What if we did some like crazy mushrooms that like grow on, maybe mushrooms and moss that are on some rocks. Things that a witch would put in their portions, and then just another tree coming up through there. And I'm drawing these thicker and darker because I am trying to basically establish them as I'm trying to let's see. I'm sorry. I'm doing a horrible job reading my chat, but that's because this is more of an educational video. Okay. Anyway, so there we go. I'm just going to come in. I'm going to switch my brushes again. Go to my recents. And then I'm just going to add some depth in there. Oop. Just undo. That's too small, sorry. From what I understand, moss only grows on the one side of a tree, so I might need to come in and do some more research before I finish my drawing. But there's my foreground, okay? Tree in the midground, and the background, I think I'm just going to have more spooky trees. Okay. Add a little bit of value here for the underside of the house. A little bit of value there. And then the way I sort of have the shadows going, the light's coming in from the left going to the right. So I'm going to go ahead and just block this out. Block out some of these platforms. Maybe just a little bit in the house itself. I'm going to come in here. I'm going to go back to my snow gum. I'm going to duplicate. Ooh. Oh, you can pin. That's cool. Wow. That's really cool. I like that. Okay, let's go back to, hold on, where did I find that? Organic. There we go. Duplicate. And I'm going to turn this to blending mode. Rendering. I'm going to come here. I'm going to make this a full-on multiply. And then what I'll do is I'll go about this brush, and I'll rename it again. Multiply. Okay. There we go. Done. So now I have the normal, multiply, and the color dodge. I'm just going to come in here and I'm going to add some leaves. Woo, little big. You know what? Let's not make the same mistake as we did last time. Let's go ahead and let's pop a new layer in there. That's a little too small. How ironic. Too big, too small. Need to find just right. Okay. But you can see how these brushes, creating brushes and using different brushes, how much of a time saver that's going to be eventually down the road. Now I'm going to go back in here and I'm going to go back to my normal one. I'm going to select this color right here. I'm going to just add some for my background too. Go down real small, smaller. Alright, and that's just going to add a little bit of that texture in there. Okay. Perfect, perfect. Let's get a few. Let's go to our color dodge and we're going to change colors back to this, and we'll get just a few highlights on some of these. Boom, 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 boom. And we'll come in and let's go back to recent and we'll do color dodge and let's hit some highlights. So if I'm looking at this composition, I have a really dark foreground, some midtones in the background, and then my sorry, yeah, no, I said that right. Midtones in the background, and then lighter values in the midground to help it pop. So let's just keep that theme going, and we'll just have just a few. Help that really shine. I think this is the wrong brush. It is. Meant to grab this one. It's okay though. No harm, no foul. It all still looks good. Maybe just a few highlights on some of this post and little construction. Okay. Okay, it doesn't have to be perfect, but I think we're off to a good start. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take this layer. I'm going to do the same thing I did last time. I sort of skipped a step. Rectangle, select, and then I'm going to copy, and then paste. Paste. There we go. You can also do the same thing by swiping down, and then this dialog comes up. Copy paste. But anyway, since I already did it, I'll just cancel out. And then that's a little dark, so I'm just going to come in here, take that layer, and bring down. Anyway, so we've been streaming for 50 minutes, and I've already got 2 really good, solid thumbnails going. I want you guys to basically take your page and just fill it with as many thumbnails as you can. Time yourself, okay? I believe the assignment calls for a certain amount. But see if you can't get quite a few thumbnails in here. If I was able to do 2 in 50 minutes with all the explaining going on, you guys should be able to get the same amount, maybe a little bit fewer. But if we're talking about your time that you're supposed to be spending in class and the time you're supposed to be spending out of class, now we still have our value comps and our color comps that we're going to do. We'll go into that a little bit later. We're not going to do it this video. I don't want these videos to be huge and long and overbearing. But for your thumbnails, go ahead and do at least. Let's see if I can pull up the assignment real quick. Double check. That's the introduction. That's not the actual assignment. Let me just swap this over here. Okay, 9 to 12 thumbnails. So that's going to take you 9 to 12 thumbnails. If we're getting 2 done in 50 minutes, you should be able to get done with that in 4.5 hours, which is plenty of time to do your other work. Okay, so 9 to 12 of these, and just crank them out as fast as you can. Get those ideas out. Hope this video was helpful. If not, let me bring this back over. Hope this video is helpful. If not, make sure that you contact me through Microsoft Teams. If you're not in my class, just go ahead and hit me up on my socials like you normally would. And we will see you guys next time. Appreciate you tuning in. Talk to you later.